Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there this evening and certainly staying safe. Of course, it's very active already out there right now and will continue to be extremely active as a tornado outbreak will likely begin to unfold over the next hour or two across areas of the southern plains. So I understand there's a lot of people probably tuning into the people going live, whether they're storm chasers, people like Ryan Hall, things like that, to kind of give you guys live conditions, just to keep you guys aware and safe and just ahead of the game. But what we're going to do here is we're going to keep you guys well ahead of the game, like several hours out ahead. And that's what we do on my channel. I don't go live, don't really have the setup to do all that, but we're going to kind of explain what could happen into the overnight hours all the way into tomorrow morning. And then after we get done discussing that, giving you the latest information on that, because I want you guys to know what potentially could unfold like in eastern Oklahoma tonight, like southeastern Kansas over the next several hours, into Missouri, even like northwestern Arkansas, as I think the weather could get pretty bad tonight in those areas as a nasty line of storms capable of producing all hazards could sweep through. And then we're going to have a special segment for tomorrow's severe weather risk, which is actually increased. We now have a chance of strong tornadoes for areas of the Ohio Valley. Okay, so we'll have a special timestamp up for that. So jump ahead to that if you aren't too concerned of what's going to happen tonight. We certainly are praying for you folks, but I understand if you don't live in that area, you might not, certainly be interested in tuning into that portion of the video, which will be right in the beginning. And then we'll talk about Wednesday, and then we'll talk about Thursday. Everything will be broken up pretty well for you folks to take advantage of timestamp wise, so definitely do that. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. I'm severely behind on comments, and I will be all the way until tomorrow afternoon until I can get some slow time at work and really catch up with everything. But I appreciate all the nice comments people have left. You've been very, very polite. I've seen very few rude comments, so thank you all for being incredibly kind, and the support has been amazing, saying all the nice things you've been saying. So with all that being said, let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the satellite loop. This is what's going on right now. Of course, where you see the clouds, the whiter colors, this isn't water vapor loop. This is just a satellite loop. So, where you do see the white, that is actually clouds. And in some cases, it's where rain or either storms are happening. I want to note one thing here across the southeast. It has been very active in the mid-south and the southeast today. I live in South Carolina. It's actually been very surprising how stormy it's been. We've had numerous severe thunderstorm warnings. We had a confirmed tornado, I believe, in areas of Tennessee. And this will continue into the overnight hours. But if you look right here in the middle portion of your screen, you see how an explosion of white occurs right here along the dry line. You notice how clear it is, not a cloud in the sky. And like western Kansas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, this is the cold front sweeping in, and these are the storms exploding along that dry line right now, currently. There's already tornado warnings. In fact, by the time this video uploads, we'll already probably have visuals on some of these tornadoes on the ground. But has not reached the really highly populated areas yet, like when Oklahoma City here in the next few hours really gets under the gun. And I want to say this right at the dot. If over the next few hours you're not hearing much about tornadoes and you immediately think in your head, well, this is a bust, this is not going to evolve the way everybody hyped it up to be, just note, and I'm going to talk about this in the video, this is not going to really get really bad until over the next few hours. Maybe not until after the sun sets, which of course is a nocturnal thing. It's serious. We've already had some tornadoes. One tornado reported, I think, in South Dakota up near the triple point. You see the spin up here? This is our actual low pressure. And that low-level jet's really going to ramp up in this area and feed kinetic energy into this line of storms. So let's give you the latest information from the Storm Prediction Center. We do have that infamous high risk in the pink right here. Oklahoma City, Norman, Enid, you guys, and everybody in between, all the way up in the southern sections of Kansas. So this is tornado-driven. Moderate risk has been extended a little bit further to the northeast now, including more sections of southeast Kansas, more sections of northeast Oklahoma, extending a little bit into Missouri too. And we're going to show you folks in Missouri, Kansas points north. In Fayetteville, you are now firmly into the enhanced risk. Fort Smith also, McAllister, enhanced risk, Ardmore, enhanced risk. But there's a chance down here you might not even get a storm. But if you do, all hazards are on the table with this. Okay, but this is the highest it gets in the pink, level 5 out of 5, what we call a high risk. What is this driven off of? Well, like I said, this is tornado driven. So in the pink color, and I'm going to have to remember what it is because we don't say this much, doesn't happen a whole lot, but in the pink color, that means there's a 30% chance of a tornado within 25 miles at any given point. So if you live in here, take this serious. This is starting to evolve right now. Red area, a 15% risk of a tornado. In the yellow, that is a 10% risk. But if you notice, there's a black outline region pretty much surrounding just about all of that 10% risk area. Not everybody, but just about all of it. Including all the 15 and the 30% area. That means there's a 10% chance of a stronger tornado, which is an EF2 or higher, which we will absolutely see over the next several hours. I'm not trying to, be a doomsday guy or anything like that, but there's a tornado watch out right now for this area. It's called a particularly dangerous situation, and it literally says several strong tornadoes likely, and that's about as high end of a tornado watch as you get. I do want to note, 10% risk of a tornado all the way down to, over here to Fayetteville, northwest Arkansas. And then there is a risk of some tornadoes down to Wichita Falls. If any storms get going, they could produce a tornado. There has been a change in the wind outlook as it has increased. So in the red, that means there's a 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. In this pink color, okay, I want to make sure I say this right, there is at least a 45% chance, and the reason I have to make sure is because we don't see this often. There's at least a 45% chance of winds exceed, almost a 50-50 shot, of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles of any given location in this area. And you see the black outline region. This does include a very small section of northwestern Arkansas, and then just pretty much all of northeast Oklahoma. 10% chance of significant winds, which is winds exceeding 75 miles per hour or higher, folks. Big deal. And then, of course, hail is a big deal, too. Okay, we're going to, in this pink area, a 45% chance of seeing hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. Red, 30% chance of that. Yellow, a 15% risk of that. And then the black outline region, that means there's a hatch risk. There's a chance of significant hail, 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. Now, let's go on and give you some updated information up here. Now, this is already clearing through areas of Kansas and Nebraska right now. But, I mean, you folks up here in Wichita, you're technically still in the, down here in Wichita, you technically are still in the moderate risk. But just south of you guys of Pratt and Wichita, you guys are in the high risk. Okay, these storms are getting closer to this region now. I think a Chinook, no K in that, Mitch, Chinook. You guys, moderate risk. Joplin, right on the edge of the enhanced moderate risk. And Kansas City, enhanced risk. Topeka, enhanced risk. St. Joseph, Lincoln, York. These storms are knocking on your doorstep in these regions right now. But please, if you live in like Topeka, Kansas City, for example, I know you're not in the highest risk area, but you're going to have a very nasty line of storms that moves in later this evening. And this is going to actually make its way all the way through Missouri. So I don't want you guys to ignore this threat just because you're in the slight and enhanced risk. And enhanced, to me, when you go to a slight to enhanced, that's really a big bump up, in my opinion, in severe weather. So yeah, definitely be aware of this. Hopefully your area is on this map. And what is this driven off of? Well, the tornado outlook over the next few to several hours. Just south of Wichita, you guys have that 45% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any given location. Hutchinson, Pratt, you guys sit in that 30% chance in the yellow. That is, make sure I'm saying this right. I'm sorry. 30% chance of a tornado. If I said 45, I do apologize. It's just mixing so many outlooks together. It's a lot, guys. But a 30% chance of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location here in the pink color. If I said 45, I do apologize. We're not that high. Red area, 15% risk. Okay, yellow area, there is a 10% risk. Okay, so Topeka, Manhattan, Emporia, you have a 10% risk of a tornado, also a 10% risk of a strong tornado because you're in this black outline region. All right, Kansas City, 10% risk of a tornado. Springfield, 10% risk of a tornado. Joplin, yeah. So definitely pay attention to this, guys. Brown area, 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. If you notice, I have a little bit less gas than I did as far as pumping out the information that I did this morning. It's because I chaperoned a field trip today, and I am wore out. And just the fact that, you just repeat the same information, you're bound to mess something up. So if I mess up a name, say Northwest, Missouri, when I mean to say Northwest Missouri or vice versa, I probably didn't mean to say it. But in the red area, there's a 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. The yellow area, a 15% risk of that. And then the black outline region, this is new, okay? Black outline region is extending all the way up to southern Iowa now. A 10% risk of winds exceeding 75 miles per hour or higher. Okay, so you're going to get some hurricane force winds with some of these wind gusts, And down here in the pink, of course, close to Joplin, Chanute, you guys have a 45% chance of seeing winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. The winds are going to be a big deal, especially as that low-level jet really increases in this area and things really escalate very fast. And then the last thing we'll look at, once again, is the hail outlook. 45% chance to see hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. Hutchinson, Wichita, Pratt, you guys, red area, 30% chance of that. Right through the heart of Kansas into southern Nebraska. And then the yellow, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in size or larger. And then you got the hatch risk area, which includes all the red and the pink area, 10% risk to see hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. So let's go over the radar. We're going to start this a couple hours in advance. So if you kind of want an idea as of around 6:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Central Time, of what's going on right now in Oklahoma and surrounding states, we'll get a little bit closer. We already have ongoing tornado warnings. We have one tornado warning right now. Just west of Enid. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I think it's pronounced Enid. But yeah, so this is still out in western Oklahoma. These storms are moving pretty quick, 30, 35, 40 miles per hour. All right, so this is really going to get bad over the next few hours. Right now, could have a tornado actually on the ground. Not sure. I've not looked at, reports from storm chasers or anything right now. But as of right now, it has not got serious yet, and it's going to soon. Okay, so this is about a couple hours past this. So these storms are Oklahoma City's right here, Tulsa right here, got the Wichita right in here, Kansas City up in here, Fort Smith, Fayetteville, just kind of showing you a couple areas, kind of give you guys an idea of where we're at. This is the HRRR model. This is starting off around 7 p.m. Central Time. Okay, I think it's doing an okay job with initiating these storms. So we keep these going, right? One thing I'm noticing is, are we going to get discrete supercells? They're already kind of looking like they're sort of combining with one another out there right now, already this evening. So does that lessen the tornado threat? Well, I think we're going to have tornadoes regardless. Does that lessen the intensity of some of the tornadoes? It could. But it actually makes this a little bit more dangerous because you're going to have embedded tornadoes in this draping line of storms to the south. So this is around 9 p.m. Central Time. Oklahoma City right here. Nasty line of storms with embedded, likely tornadic supercells embedded into this line. Embedded, probably semi-discrete supercells. And you keep these going. Does it completely miss Oklahoma City? Guys, there is a chance. But there's also a good chance that this model is completely wrong. Okay, this line of storms has a good chance to be draping all the way down into maybe southern Oklahoma. But I said this morning. There's a chance you might not get a drop of rain when you have a high-end chance to see a tornado today. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But these storms are continuing. The tornado threat is extremely high, even at 10 p.m. this evening. And then I want you to notice down here, look how this storm explodes right down here, just southwest of Oklahoma City, around 11 p.m. I'm telling you, the sun is well down. It's 11 p.m. Of course, it's dark outside. This could be producing a very strong tornado southwest of Oklahoma City. At the same time, you got this line of storms blasting through Tulsa, producing hurricane-force winds, potentially wind-driven large hail, all hazards, embedded tornadoes. And this continues. And these storms, if they miss to the north initially, you could have an extension of these storms that develop right on top of Oklahoma City. This is like midnight. I know it says 1 a.m. Back it up 1 hour because this is an Eastern time. Of course, this setup is happening in Central time. But these storms will continue. These storms start to blast through like Fayetteville, get close to Fort Smith after midnight tonight. Still an ongoing tornado potential. All these storms draped across southeast Oklahoma will have the opportunity to produce all hazards, still tornadoes. And this is getting into the wee hours of the morning. I do think this line of storms will lose steam very fast as you start to wake up tomorrow morning. It's around 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Still some storms in areas of Arkansas, but I think they're losing some steam at this point. You look at the updraft velocity swath. I want you to watch, and this indicates rotation with these storms. Doesn't necessarily mean there's a tornado. It just, the more vibrant you see the colors, like right up here in Kansas, the more that this particular model run is indicating a lot of rotation with these storms. I want you to see how this gets lit up over the next several hours. See how it catches on to all these storms. I don't think it matters whether these are discrete supercells or embedded into a line. We're going to get several tornadoes over the next several hours. Okay, Storm Prediction Center mentioned it. Those are the experts. I'm a weather enthusiast. I'm mentioning it. Pretty much everybody has the same idea. So you see all these colors right here thinking, what am I looking at? Well, this is indicating rotation with these storms. Whether it's tight rotation, capable of producing a tornado, broad rotation, just not latching to the ground. Just look at this, obviously, in Oklahoma and say, okay, well, these storms, wherever they're going to be at, have the capability of producing tornadoes and strong tornadoes. Okay, the significant tornado parameter is going to max out in this area. I mean, some ridiculous parameter numbers are being spit out, which tells us that the ingredients are going to be absolutely ridiculous over the next several hours. Already building in, they're going to get even more high end over the next few hours. This is the HRRR model as far as maxed wind gusts. So I don't want you guys to ignore the fact that we have a significant damaging wind threat with this too. I mean, literally a sweeping line of storms capable of producing 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts. And this really develops, it looks like on this particular run, it really, and let's go on and actually look at the, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. It literally, from 3 hour simulation, it really likes the idea of this line of storms going right through the heart of Oklahoma and producing, I mean, you see these white areas, guys, that is like 85, 90 mile per hour wind gust sweeping through the area. Okay, and these winds could be quite intense by the time you get after midnight tonight into northwest Arkansas. Very, very strong winds with this. The reason that this threat is really going to increase over the next few hours, this is what we call the low-level jet, winds about 850 millibars. And, when you equate that to feet, that's about 4,000 to 6,000 feet above in the atmosphere, above our heads, about a mile above our heads, okay? So the winds are going like almost interstate speed. You notice kind of right now, you got a low-level jet pushing over 40 knots. I mean, this is already in Oklahoma. This is already supportive for tornadoes and wind damage. But watch as we continue to make our way into like OOZ, which I really think is when the tornado threat's really going to get big time. This is getting closer to like 7, 8, 9 p.m. Watch how the low-level jet really just gets crazy down here. Over 50 knots in the low levels of the atmosphere means it's going in about 55, 60, 65 mile per hour winds about a mile above our heads here in Oklahoma. This is going to increase the damaging wind threat. This is going to increase your tornado threat. And you're still going to have the ongoing very large hail threat. Winds are screaming out the south. You see these wind bars pointing out the south? Kinematic flow in the low levels is absolutely just completely fueling this kinematic and damaging wind threat and tornado threat. And this is why we're going to have some nocturnal big time severe weather issues. Okay, and this continues. I mean, all the way into the wee hours of the morning. I mean, well, this is getting closer to midnight, 11 p.m. or so, midnight. This low-level jet is really ramping through this area, and that's why I think you got to watch out in areas of Missouri too, western Missouri, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Just a lot of favorable wind flow, low-level wind flow, really feeding into these storms. Okay, so not to leave you guys hanging in Kansas or Nebraska, but this line of storms will continue to sweep across the eastern sections of your state over the next few hours. I'm not really showing you guys because this is really going to evolve over the next 1 to 3 hours. Okay, we're going to skip ahead, get a little bit more ahead of time, and I do apologize. Don't be too mad at me if you live in Kansas or Nebraska and you're tuning in. I do show a very small section of you guys over here, especially eastern Kansas. So we'll start this off around 9 p.m. Storms are working their way through the last several eastern counties of Kansas. It's right on the Iowa-Nebraska border. I think Lincoln, Omaha, you guys will get your worst weather anywhere from like maybe 8 to 9, 10 p.m. Okay? These storms start to enter the picture here. I think you have a significant damaging wind threat even in southern Iowa. So this is around 11 p.m. If you live in the southern counties of Iowa, especially further west southern counties of Iowa, big-time damaging wind threat. Embedded tornadoes are possible. The further you track south along this line, the higher the tornado threat most likely. But Kansas City, you guys get rocked by a nasty line of storms after the sun sets most likely tonight, 10 p.m. or so. I mean, just please be aware. You're going to know these storms are coming. You're going to see the lightning in the distance. The winds will pick up. It's already probably windy in this area now. But these storms will continue. By the time you get to about 2 a.m., they start to lose some steam. As you can tell, the colors start to lose those dark reds, almost purple-like colors. But these storms are still packing a punch as they're making their way through all of Iowa, all of Missouri, and might maintain themselves into the wee hours of the morning. By the time they reach St. Louis, sun ain't quite up, maybe about 5, 6 a.m. These storms are working their way through the western counties of Illinois, probably before the sun comes up. And we just got to watch what these storms do as they continue to track across the Midwest into the Ohio Valley. Okay, I do think they will continue to weaken, but kind of maintain themselves throughout the morning hours throughout Illinois and Indiana. But I think that the severe element to them will not be that bad. So, you know, you look at the updraft Felicity swath, you notice a lot of splotchy areas indicating rotation with these storms, especially in the western half of Missouri, southwestern Iowa, and of course northwestern Arkansas. But you can tell, you know, it loosens up a little bit as you get to the eastern sections of these states, and western Illinois. It really tells us the tornado threat begins to drop off overnight. But, you know, you look at the winds, it's the same deal. Worse in the western sections of these states, for sure. And, you know, you see these little splotches right in here. That's 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts are possible. Watch out, Kansas City. I'm telling you, Topeka, you guys, over the next few hours in eastern Kansas, strong, very strong winds, damaging wind gusts, very windy conditions with these storms, and Iowa too. And, you know, just watch out with these storms overnight in Missouri. These are going to pack some punches here with some damaging wind gusts. So that's the last update I have for tonight. You guys, please stay safe. Please do not wait to take the weather serious until it's serious. We don't need, let's just try to not have any loss of life. Lord, just please, we can rebuild things, but I just ask that you please just keep these people safe tonight, because this is the real deal. Things are going to escalate quickly as the sun is setting, which really stinks. But let's move into tomorrow. If you watched this morning, we only had the slight risk. Remember, now we have the enhanced risk. Little baby enhanced risk. This could, I mean, I wouldn't say baby. There's some highly populated regions in this area. But this could get bigger as we wake up tomorrow morning. Slight risk, you know, goes all the way down to the Boot Hill, Missouri, northeastern Arkansas, including the northern counties of Tennessee, just about all of Kentucky, western West Virginia, a little tongue twister there, southern sections of lower Michigan, Indiana, good chunk of Ohio, you know, in areas of Illinois. Okay, but the enhanced risk is right in here. This is your biggest threat for tornadoes. But I want to note, guys, there's a huge marginal risk extending all the way up into Wisconsin, all the way down to Texarkana region, all the way down to the deep south, all the way through the mid-Atlantic and North Carolina and areas in upstate South Carolina. I think we're going to have storms, severe storms for a lot of people. I just think the intensity of them won't be as bad as what's happening right now into the next several hours. But what is this driven off of? Let's take a broad look. There's that 10% risk of a tornado, 5% risk of a tornado in this huge area. In fact, let's just dive right into this. Let's take a closer look. Orange area. I wish this showed more towns and cities. I wish I had the time to do like 2-hour videos or really just zoom into each and every state to show all the smaller towns in all these states. Just, you know, even if I could have the time for that, I don't think that my mouth could run for that long. But I don't know. I've proved myself wrong sometimes. But enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5. For tornadoes, stronger tornadoes. Columbus, Dayton, you guys are including this. This could extend down to Cincinnati. I could see this extending a little bit further north into Toledo. But there is a 10% risk of tornadoes right here driving this enhanced risk. We'll take a closer look at that here in a second. Slight risk all the way from Lansing down here to western West Virginia, including everybody in Kentucky, northern sections, just about all the way down to Nashville, Tennessee. Boot Hill, Missouri, almost down to Jonesboro, Arkansas, you know, including Bloomington, Evansville, Lafayette, Indianapolis, Ann Arbor. So large marginal risk too. So what is this driven off? Like I said, you have that 10% risk of a tornado in this yellow area within 25 miles in any given location. But you see the black outline region, that means there's a 10% risk of a strong tornado too, an EF2 or higher. Large, highly populated area has a 5% chance of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. It's a pretty big area. And a pretty large area with a 2% risk too. Do not ignore up here. There's going to be a weak shortwave trough, kind of, might as well say a weak low pressure. Could be some surprises up here in Wisconsin. I'm already going to tell you, tomorrow's video is going to be a long one. So, you know, you go back and then you look at the wind outlook. You know, nothing too crazy, but a pretty large area. This could upgrade to a 30%. Large area in the yellow, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then the hail outlook, we do have a risk of significant hail. The yellow, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. In the black outline region, there is a 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. So highly populated regions have a risk of significant severe weather tomorrow. The Ohio Valley obviously is, you know, on average, a little bit more. There's just more bigger towns and cities in this area. But, of course, the area in Oklahoma that's getting impacted tonight, we got Tulsa, we got Oklahoma City, Wichita, etc. So what is the radar potentially going to look like in this area tomorrow? Well, we do know, remember we just talked about this line of storms in the Midwest. We'll have a line of storms kind of tracking through Illinois. All right, this will continue. We're going to get some thunderstorms mid-late morning throughout Indiana, probably all the way up to Chicago, probably all the way down to sections of Kentucky. I mean, and by the time we get to about lunchtime, 1 p.m., these will start to work into an atmosphere that's probably starting to get a little bit more juiced up ahead of these lines, this line, and behind this line. So the southern section of these storms down here, moving through Louisville, moving through Cincinnati, you guys could start to get some severe storms just after lunchtime tomorrow. And then I do think this main area of storms start to lose some steam, but this is around 2 p.m. Some storms still kind of making their way through Ohio. Storms are starting to gain some intensity in central and northern sections of Kentucky. It's these storms, though, right here that I'm the most concerned about. What forms behind this weakening line. Okay? If you look really closely, this has that kidney bean look right here. Right down here. See how they're kind of hooking the structure of a supercell. I want you to look at these storms down here, too, in eastern Kentucky, all throughout Kentucky also. Look at these big storms, even down here in North Carolina. Okay, and I'm going to show you more states tomorrow morning when we wake up. Could have some nasty storms in North Carolina and Virginia tomorrow too. Okay, but just don't have the time to work through every single area. I mean, tomorrow's risk is not going to be as significant, I don't think, as tonight's, but I think a very large area for sure runs the risk of strong to severe storms. But you continue to work. This is around 5 p.m., 6 p.m. I mean, look at these storms in southern lower Michigan. Northwest Ohio, still some storms back here in central Indiana. Look at these storms down here in Kentucky. A couple storms still trying to form in eastern Illinois. And, I do think these will start to lose some steam as you get later in the afternoon into the evening. But I think that you're going to get an increase in tornadoes a little bit further north into northwestern Ohio, maybe even southern lower Michigan. We'll have to watch. But, be careful with all these storms you see firing up in Kentucky. And then, this continues. This is 9 p.m. Potential for supercell action right where West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky meet. Still got storms ongoing throughout Ohio. And finally, as you get, after midnight tomorrow night, the Ohio Valley starts to calm down, but you still got a lot of storms down here in Kentucky, the Mid-South, Tennessee, and a lot of storms rumbling through West Virginia in the wee hours of the morning. Then we get all the way to Wednesday morning, and we are greeted with another significant severe weather threat. It's going to be probably a higher end deal just like tonight is. Updraft Felicity swath. As you can tell, you got a couple numbers showing up from this, but it's really what happens after this. There's a couple areas you can see. One really highlighted area up here near Toledo, I believe. Couple little swaths up here in southern lower Michigan. But look down here in Kentucky and southern Ohio. Be mindful of this. Lexington, Kentucky, the eastern hills of eastern Kentucky. Watch out West Virginia. There's some areas just scattered about. Very large area. Nothing as crazy as what we just saw with Oklahoma, but definitely a lot of areas. And, just talking about the ingredients with the setup, and hopefully pivotal weather works with me here. A lot of humid air ahead of these storms, which you take it to about early afternoon. Dew points are supported for severe weather. We talk about this, dew points in the 60s. You can check that off the box as far as the thermodynamics for severe weather. Now, we got deep tropical moisture down here near the Mississippi River, but just lacking forcing for thunderstorms because our shortwave energy is way up here. And even though we're going to have a lot of fuel in the atmosphere, doesn't mean we're not going to have storms. We're lacking forcing to really get these storms going. But still could. But check it out. We continue to make our way through the afternoon hours, and dew points rise all the way into the mid-60s, all the way into lower Michigan. And what I'm trying to say here, guys, is you got deep, almost tropical moisture all the way up here into the Ohio Valley. Dew points reaching the upper 60s, even some spots of lower 70s into these areas. So it is going to feel like summertime up here, and you are going to feel storms on the way in the Ohio Valley, Kentucky, Mid-South, for sure. So you compare that to the storm fuel in the atmosphere because of these higher dew points. And here we go. Dang, did not mean to click on that. All right, I think we're good now. So take it about midday. Look, you already got fuel already building over, mixed layer Cape building over to 2,000 joules per kilogram. You notice the atmosphere is a little bit more chilled out here in northern Indiana, Ohio. It's because these storms move in and kind of stabilize the atmosphere. But you see this cape building in back in Illinois, even southern Indiana. That is the atmosphere recovering from the morning showers and storms in early afternoon. And by the time you start to make your way into about mid to late afternoon, the atmosphere gets primed. And it's really starting to take over. Mixed layer cape starts to build at well over 1,500 joules per kilogram across, over 2,000 across Indiana, western Ohio, down in Kentucky, a lot more fuel because you're just further south, tapped into more of that deep tropical moisture. And you keep this going, and this really starts to ooze into Ohio tomorrow, late afternoon to the evening. Cape Valley is almost touching 2,500 joules per kilogram. And I know you see all this fuel down here, but just keep in mind that you're lacking forcing for thunderstorms, so nothing might develop to really tap into this. And I do want you guys to notice, look at all this energy out here in North Carolina too. I think there'll be an opportunity for some thunderstorms to reach severe limits for any storms that develop down here in North Carolina, the Southern Alps, Virginia. But this is a lot of fuel building right into this tornado threat area, the highest tornado threat area, right in here. A little bit of a triple point being met with some sort of shortwave trough up here and the cutoff between all your ingredients needed for severe weather. And of course, kinematics, right? A low-level jet is already increasing throughout the morning, early afternoon. You got this low-level jet increasing to 30 to 40, 45 knots. We really look at this as far as your tornado threat, your directional shear, your spin in the atmosphere. And you got this pocket right here favorable in Indiana, getting into Ohio, Kentucky, low-level jet approaching 30 to 40 knots, which might not sound like a lot, but this is definitely supportive for tornadoes. And look at it maximizing up here in Ohio, Kentucky. So you got this favorable flow in the low levels that's going to support a spin in the atmosphere and even a damaging wind threat too, just based off, driven off that shortwave trough up here, weaker lower pressure. So take this severe weather threat tomorrow serious. It could increase. Now we get into our Wednesday, guys, a massive area of real estate stretching from southwest Ohio all the way to northeast Texas, including 75% of Arkansas, areas of eastern Oklahoma once again, western Tennessee, Memphis, extreme northwestern Mississippi, half of Missouri, half of Indiana and Illinois, a good chunk of Kentucky has a level 3 out of 5. We're going to get a moderate risk out of Wednesday. I don't know if we're going to get a high risk. It really takes high confidence, quite literally, to make a high risk. But I think we're going to get a moderate risk for Wednesday, no doubt. We just got to figure out who's going to see the highest threat for tornadoes. Slight risk and surround around this, then a very large area has a marginal risk. Going all the way up to Albany, New York City, areas of southern New England, all the way down to Columbia, South Carolina, Atlanta, all the way down to Texas, all the way back to Des Moines and Iowa and southern Wisconsin. Big day. So what we know, we'll know more tomorrow. 30% chance of severe weather in the red area within 25 miles in a given location. Yellow, 15%, and then the black outline region, we have a 10% risk of significant severe weather. What is that going to be? Hail, tornadoes, wind? I think it'll be all of the above. And we go back and look at the ingredients one more time, right? Same area. Started off Wednesday morning, and we're going to move this up through this a little bit quicker. If it'll get on the move for me. Here we go. Nope. All right, there we go. Wednesday morning, a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, but look how this really bubbles up. Look at this. Now, I can tell you, the areas of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, a little bit more stable. Dew points in the 50s, probably not going to support much in the way of severe weather. But you get down here, you tap into a tropical air mass, and you're going to get some nasty weather. I think there's going to be some nasty storms in Missouri. I think that'll be a big state. We just got to figure out where that surface low is. Wherever the surface low is it going to be right up here in Iowa? Then just south and southeast and east of it, that's where your highest tornado threat's going to be. Your best overlapping kinematics and thermodynamics. All right, and this is thermodynamics, your surface moisture, but deep tropical moisture over this entire 30% region area, okay? We know that. Next thing you'll look at in response to that deep tropical moisture is your CAPE levels. And let's see if I need to get this and hold its hand a little bit here. Yep, here we go. And if you look at the CAPE levels, we'll take it to the most unstable time of the day, Wednesday afternoon. The one thing you got to watch, are we going to have some higher end CAPE levels up into Missouri? Okay, is there going to be a displacement between all the ingredients? What is it going to be? I could see them shrink in the 30% area when we wake up tomorrow morning. But, you have alarming amount of Cape down here in Texas. But are you going to have a favorable flow down here? That's a big question. In the low to mid levels, a lot of storm fuel in Arkansas. I mean, Cape levels just well over 2,500 joules per kilogram. A lot of storm fuel down to the Carolinas. I think it'll be a stormy day potential down here. And then the deep south, mid south. How much does this build into this region? We're not quite sure. But I think you're going to have a lot of storm activity in this region. For sure. A lot of fuel for these storms to really tap into. Okay? Getting distracted because I think my phone's ringing to my side. That's why I'm pausing there. But you look at this low-level jet, right? And what we're looking at right here. This is going to be the big question here. And really, I should just be looking at the mid-level flow. But you see, there's not much low-level flow out there. I mean, there's pockets right in here. And you see how these wind barbs are kind of circling around right in here in Missouri? That's our surface low. So therefore, you go south of that. There's your low-level jet right here in this region. Pockets of it, pushing 30 to 40 knots. So that is where your most favorable flow is in the low levels for tornadoes. We gotta tweak this. We gotta figure out some things about Wednesday. Is this surface low going to be stronger? If it is, you'll have a more jacked up, kind of enhanced low level jet, increasing your damaging wind threat, increasing your tornado threat. Is it going to be weaker like this? This is just the Euro. Notice how it increases down here. Okay, low level jet is a little bit more juiced up down here. But we still got a lot to figure out with Thursday. I think trying to tweak the overlapping ingredients and figure out where's that going to happen the best is still something we're still trying to figure out. Okay, and I just want to look at the surface features out here, which I think is very important. Okay, because it shows us where these actual surface lows are. So for Tuesday, I think that you're probably going to have some sort of feature right into here tomorrow. Right into here. And it actually gets strong enough to show up on the map right over Michigan. So this low is actually right in here too, but it's too weak to really show up on this particular map. All right. And this is actually what brings the severe weather threat for this area for tomorrow. Now we're getting into Wednesday morning. You're noticing another low developing down here in Oklahoma. This is going to eject across areas of the Southern Plains, eventually moving into the Mississippi Valley. So by Wednesday, based off the Euro, you got a 997 millibar low heading out of eastern Oklahoma. This is promoting the lift for thunderstorms right here in this region right here. You see these splotches of green, orange, and yellow. Those are probably going to be severe storms right here in this region. So we got another low over here. You want to watch this. See what this is going to do for the Northeast. I'm not quite sure. And then we start to get into, Wednesday night. There's that low maybe weakening somewhat, but this is promoting a lot of thunderstorm activity overnight, Wednesday night into Thursday. And then this low kind of dances around, and then eventually it gets into our Thursday afternoon, which we will have another severe weather threat, okay? Low right here, this tells me we're going to have a higher severe weather potential for like the mid-Atlantic, maybe the southeast. You see these storms down here, and just figuring out where this low is going to be. Where is the ingredients going to be? But, I think we're going to have maybe a feature right over here too, driving some sort of severe weather event for Texas. But there's that low for Thursday afternoon. And I'm thinking about chasing, and it would probably be Thursday. But we're just trying to figure out what this low is going to do in this region for sure. And speaking of Thursday, 15% risk of severe weather from Philadelphia all the way to Columbus, Georgia. This includes all the Carolinas just about, includes a good chunk of the Delmarva region, if not all of it. And just basically splits Virginia in half, especially the eastern side. And then you got another area right here that runs that 15% chance of severe weather within 25 miles in a given location. And like I said, we just got to figure out this low, which will be somewhere up into here. And we start off Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon. There's your low-level moisture. Plenty of deep tropical moisture in the deep south, southeast. Dew points surging all the way to 70 or higher into the Delmarva region, eastern Virginia, areas of the Carolinas, deep moisture in place. Of course, with that deep moisture in place, you have your higher Cape levels that will spike Thursday afternoon with the daytime heating. Look at these higher Cape levels mixed layer Cape reaching over 2,000 joules per kilogram in this region. Low right up here somewhere. A lot of fuel in the atmosphere. Even 1,000 Cape will get the job done in this setup. And then just trying to figure out where the best flow is. All right, we're just looking at the low-level flow in this case. It's pretty wide. Thursday afternoon with a low right up in here in the Pennsylvania. You can see the wind barbs circling around of it if you look hard enough. And everybody south of this, you have this low-level jet right over the mid-Atlantic, the upper portion of the southeast. This will bring some sort of tornado threat Thursday afternoon for someone in the mid-Atlantic and the southeast. I really think it will. Trying to figure out the highest threat area, still got time to do that. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Stay safe tonight and over the next several days, and we'll continue to pump out the information all week long. God bless.